episode of the Off-Road Podcast is sponsored by Warren, Medical Gear Outfitters, and Colby Valve.
Off-Road Podcast, episode 341, airing down.
Tonight, Ben's half tempted to get a little taller. Aaron crafts a wrench, and Jeremy gets ready a little early.
Mean. Welcome to the Off-Road Podcast, a podcast about everything off-road. We cover the news, review products, and interview people in the off-road industry. I'm your host, Ben, back again, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Aaron and Jeremy, and welcome to the show.
The weekend review is brought to you by Medical Gear Outfitters. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting to have a casualty on the trail? Check out medicalgearoutfitters.com to get straightened out. Medical Gear Outfitters has everything you need, whether you're going out for the day or traveling on a year-long expedition. Head over there to get off-road specific kits that meet all of your needs. And while you're there, make sure you use Off-Road Podcast for 10% off. Is it bad form to kind of hope that there's some sort of injury that I can whip out that Medical Gear Outfitters first aid kit on?
No. I carry mine around. I'm it's generally been in the back of the actually it's been in the back of the Expedition lately.
Oh, I was going to say, it's been in the back of the Forerunner. You haven't been carrying it around.
No. It's been in the back of the Forerunner or the Expedition, and it's kind of been traveling me whatever vehicle I'm driving, except for today it wasn't in the Camry because I'm like, am I going to need it for the Camry? I'm like, no. But that's generally when something happens, right?
Probably. Well, Ben, since you're already talking, tell us the news on the Forerunner.
Well, no news on the Forerunner yet. But they had not started it as of Wednesday when I drove by. But
when did you drop it off?
I dropped it off the last Friday. So but he called me on Monday and he's like, hey, I got all the parts. They're on their way. And so I think he was just waiting for parts to show up because there were some parts that were a little harder to find.
So hold on before you keep going. What's the over under Ben's rig doesn't make the snow trip?
It's going to make it because Ben's not the one working on
it. Yeah. And realistically, I'm like he was talking like the possibility of my head's needing machined. I'm not thinking they're going to need to be machined. They'll probably just need a quick resurface.
Yeah, Flex Seal will take care of that.
Flex Seal would probably take care of that as a gasket. Yes.
Is it resurfacing machining?
Yeah, machining. And so that's the part that can take a long time with the Forerunner is.
Well, I guess it is, but some people just touch it up with like a flap disc or something. No, I shouldn't say a flap disc. A wire wheel. Yeah.
And it didn't have a very headed it did not have a very bad head gasket leak. Like I wasn't pouring out white exhaust or blue exhaust. So
there was no new Pope elected.
So I was just losing fluid. So hopefully nothing happened. Hopefully it's really quick. But then I was sitting at work today. We had a customer that canceled a lift a month ago or 2 months ago. And then it was just a big fiasco. And it was a 4th gen Forerunner. And we've got this Icon lift sitting at the shop. And I've been looking at it. I don't need the control arms off of it. But I'm going to take the struts and springs and I'm going to get myself a real lift because that'll actually give me 3.5 inches of lift versus the 2 I have currently, which will help with my rubbing, hopefully. Just a little bit.
Hey Ben, how long do you think you can walk in a day? Just curious. Hours wise.
I'm pretty fat, so.
So 4 hours a day?
No, I walk all day at work. I'm usually moving around. I'm on my feet.
So 8 hours a day?
8 hours a day. So if I
Okay,
start walking now, I'll make it to the trailhead, right?
No, you can wait until like the 14th or the 15th. It's 26 hours from Bonnie Lake to Randall.
No, he doesn't have to go from Bonnie Lake. He can drive his car as far as he can get, and then
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, I could take
then
the
start
expedition
walking.
and
Start
probably
walking for the first ditch.
Well, then why did I look up how long it takes to walk from Bonnie Lake to Randall?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. We've got some good comments going on here, and they're definitely coming from our Facebook fans page, because I have no idea who this is. So
I want to give you credit though.
I want to say it's probably Kravik with the icon hate.
it could be, yeah. So that I don't think it's Rick, but the comment prior to that made me think it was Rick. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yep.
That one could also be Kravik though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Who knows that my tires are really, really bald?
Kravik.
Does he?
Everybody
does?
talked about it on the show.
Yeah,
that could be.
So yeah. So that's kind of all that's really been going on with me. Last week I just had some fiasco at work, so I was running late and I wasn't going to make the show, so I listened to the show on my way home.
I'm sure you would, Tim.
Yeah.
Tim says he could hitchhike. I'd pick him up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, his first comment of the night here was, "I'm glad we have the bald guy tonight instead of the other bald guy." So
yeah.
Oh, I did 3D print myself something useful for my Forerunner though. Cup holder, because the Forerunner cup holders are trash. So
you'd mentioned that you were planning to do
that. What's the over under on that cup holder snapping in half and spilling a drink everywhere?
Well, spilled drinks just happen no matter what in Ben's rig.
Yeah, especially with my kids.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think that's what he's referring to.
Yeah. Well, Jeremy, what about you? What's new, man?
I haven't done a whole lot of off-roady stuff this last week, but I did pretty much get everything packed up for our trip that starts in like 2.5 weeks. So I'm a little bit early, but I'm pretty excited. So I can't wait. I've already kind of organized the gear and tried to pare everything down as much as I could. So I'm stoked. I just can't wait.
I'm excited to go too.
And Amazon brought some more flour for our pizza dough. Uses a special kind of flour.
You need special flour?
Yeah, it's like a high gluten flour because pizza dough needs a lot of gluten.
Oh, I love gluten.
Yes, you do.
I try to sprinkle a little extra gluten on
and our hater of Icon and the really good Burns has been Coy.
I wondered.
Yeah.
I guess I actually did do something off already this week. I kind of my shovel has been just bungee cord to the rack on the back of my tire carrier for the longest time, and so I ended up making a bracket. By bracket, it's literally just 4 pieces of flat bar cut to the right length and drilled, and then it sandwiches the rack, and I have enough space for so I have my shovel up there on some quick fists, and then Tim knew it was Koi all along.
Yeah, he spelled Koi wrong. It's Koi, like the fish.
Yeah, and then so it also has a spot for my so I picked up some more quick fists because I didn't have enough, but it's also got a spot for my my splitting maul.
Oh, there you go.
So I guess I did do something.
Yeah, that's good.
How about you, Aaron? What have you been up to? Put us all to shame.
Here you go. I worked on my Frontier.
What? Really?
Yep. I took it over to my buddy's shop and drained the coolant out. These new vehicles, maybe it's just Nissan cheaping out, I don't know, but they don't put a petcock valve on the bottom of the radiator. So you got to pull a radiator hose
That's annoying.
Yeah, you got to pull a radiator hose to drain a bunch of coolant out. So of course it goes everywhere.
Yeah.
I caught most of it in a 5-gallon bucket. My truck is tall enough that I can slide a 5-gallon bucket underneath the front bumper to catch the coolant, which is super neat.
That is nice.
Yeah.
Okay, now I want to get a scale model of a 30-gallon trash bin that fits under my rig.
Yeah, get the tallest trash can that will fit under yours as long as it's bigger than a 5-gallon bucket, so you can show me up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, a
So I
kitty.
drained
That's got to
a
be
kid-
more than 5 gallons.
more than 5 gallons, but probably not taller.
It didn't need to be. I could just say I put a 40-gallon container under there. I don't have to specify the dimensions.
That's true. So I needed to change out coolant temperature sensor in my truck, and while I was at it, I was going to change the thermostat just because. So my truck was having some issues where it was getting up to heat. You could feel hot air come through the vents. You could defrost. You could toast yourself out, whatever. I could use like a laser thermometer on the top of the engine where the coolant's flowing, and I'm getting 180 degrees up there. But the gauge wasn't lifting off the post for the coolant temperature, and because of that, the engine thinks it's cold, so it's dumping extra fuel in. My idle's extra high, and those aren't good things, especially when you're driving down Black Bear Pass with a high idle. That means you're on the brakes the entire time. And yes, this has been going on since July when I was in Moab. So,
wow, you never told us about that.
Oh, yeah, it was definitely a thing. So, changing out the sensor completely fixed it. The truck idles at 650 RPM. It's just purrs. And my fuel economy driving at home was way better. Yeah. So Tim says that Greta's not happy because Aaron was running rich. I don't know, Ben and Jeremy, if you guys are old enough to have been around muscle cars back in the day when you're kids and they're like idling next to you and you could just smell the unburnt gas. It was just like a common thing for cars in the 70s. 60s and 70s, they just smelled like unburnt fuel. And my Nissan smelled like that. It was glorious. Loved it.
Lewis would love it.
Yeah.
My son
kids
is
should not be.
Yeah, he's like, I love the smell of gasoline, Dad. And I'm just like, stop sniffing gas, please.
Yeah.
Well,
so that's all gone. Now it's running really good. Now I need to get another tune. I need to have it retuned. Now that I've got all my exhaust leaks fixed, I got the idle fixed. So I need to get it retuned, but that won't happen before we go snow camping. And then I put my eyes on the tires I've been talking about on my camp trailer that I'm going to move over to my Frontier. And sadly, all 3 tires for my camp trailer have way more tread the tread on my pickup truck. So, and those were takeoffs of my pickup truck several years back. So kind of sad.
Yeah.
But I'll have tread for the snow trip. I'll be doing that this weekend. Besides fixing the coolant issue, I worked on my shop. I got some more rafters up on my shop, and so now I got to do the yes, how dare you. Now Coy says that we were too busy doing world-class wheeling instead of slumming it in Tahuya. I think that is what he's talking about, the reason why we didn't talk about my high idle.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I worked on my shop some. And then my neighbor who lives about a mile from me, he has an excavator business. He told me that he has 2 tire changing machines at his house. They're all manual and everything. And we were talking about my Toyota Avalon and how I couldn't get those tires to fit. And so he said we could change the tire over there, and I could, rather than paying a shop, I can just do it over there. The only thing we can't do is balance it. So I think I'm going to bring one tire over, put the oversized all-terrain on, bring it back, and see how thick of a spacer. Last night I sourced 3 different sizes of spacers: a 3/4, actually 4 sizes: 3/4, 1 inch, 1.5 inches, and 2 wheel spacers. So I think instead of putting the appropriate size tires on, I think I'm gonna get wheel spacers for the Avalon. Why not?
Wheel spacers or lifts? Because like, what are you rubbing on?
Nothing. So the sidewall of the tire rubs against the tube of the strut. So I need to push away from the strut. So wheel spacers to do it. I'm also planning on you can buy a puck lift. So I'm IFS IRS on that Avalon. It doesn't have any solid axles, believe it or not. So it's got struts all the way around. I'm gonna just make my own puck lift for it, and yeah, so I'll get some lift
Full
and some
send?
tires and
Yeah.
some width. It's gonna be glorious. Super excited.
I'm down.
So
It sounds
yeah.
like a Gambler 500 project.
Yeah.
Hey, Aaron, I got a way
Yeah.
you can get some more tread on those tires. Just hot knife your tires.
I've seen those videos like in India or China where people hot knife to get more tread. That's a super good idea, especially with how I drive.
Yes, I agree.
Maybe if we Tim says, did I learn nothing from thanks, Coy. Did I learn nothing from the stink bug? I learned everything from the stink bug. I learned how to use the plumbing aisle to lift a vehicle. So
You know what? I think we learned lots of good things from the Gambler 500.
Yeah. Tim says I could just drive it to work and leave it alone. You sound a lot like my wife, Tim.
You sound like
I don't need that kind of negativity in my life.
Sounds like someone who doesn't own a Jeep.
Whoa. You just said he sounds like your wife, and then you said, I don't need that kind of negativity in my life.
I hope she's not listening.
Jeez.
Oh, I do say that jokingly because she was saying, well, we had a fun fire pit night a couple nights ago with the neighbors, and she was like, you could just buy tires that fit the car and you wouldn't have to do all this stuff. I'm like, I know, but that's not fun, and that's not who I am. Yeah.
All right, so putting aside Aaron's bad life decisions.
Hey guys, we're looking to reach more listeners. We're going to start reading Apple iTunes reviews on air. If you hear yours, send us a message with your address, and we'll send you an Off-Road Podcast sticker. You can find all of our social media by just searching our name. Now, go hit that subscribe button.
Uh-oh, we just lost Jeremy.
It's okay. Nobody likes him anyways.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
He doesn't have his headphones on. There he is. Okay, good. We can stop talking about him. Hey, Jeremy, we got some listener feedback this week, and I was hoping that you'd read it.
Yeah, we did. And he's 100% right. So,
maybe about some stuff. Let's go through it. I split it in half so we'll talk about it in sections.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. So he says, I'm honestly a little disappointed in y'all's locker knowledge. It is one of the most important things on a 4x4. A lunchbox locker is one that replaces spider gears only, like packing a lunchbox, and considerably cheaper than a full carrier Detroit. Also, you don't have to hold the cable of an aux locker with vice grips. They come with a slug so you can screw in where the cable goes to lock it. 100% right. And then he says, and if you were stuck out in the wilderness, why would you want your locker to fail open, leaving you without it? At least you could get out. Jake.
Yeah, Jake H. So, I wanted to dissect this just a little bit. The beginning says he's disappointed with all of our locker knowledge. So
I wasn't here to defend him myself.
Yeah. So Ben did all the show notes for us. We had to just go off of what he wrote.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. So what I was going to say is that we can't know everything, Jake. So I I appreciate that you put us on that plane, that you think that we are off-road gods and should just obviously know everything, but we don't, and we're going to miss stuff, especially if it's not necessarily equipment that we've put into our own rig. So
Or looked at putting into our own rigs.
yeah,
So-
a aux locker was never available for the Nissan truck that I drive, as far as I know. And I don't know of any Nissan owner that's ever put a cable actuated locker in. So I've just never spent any time looking into them.
I've looked at the aux lockers and I knew about the things that they have for them, but I was not here. And the same with the lunchbox locker knowledge. But again, I wasn't here, so that doesn't help.
Yeah. So yeah, unfortunately we can't know everything. We do really try. We do put time and effort into researching stuff, and we have our own experience and our own opinions. We definitely have our own opinions, like
and
the fact that
the best.
stuck.
And the great thing about listener feedback is that we are able to then turn around and share it with everybody else.
Yeah. So we could have chose to hide this one, and yeah. But what was last week's listener feedback? Humble. There we are, being humble. So I did want to talk a little more in depth about being stuck in the wilderness. Tim is in the comments here, and he sounds like he's in the camp that he would want it to be stuck in the on position rather than the open position for a locker. And I guess it depends on when something breaks.
You're sounding really hollow, Aaron.
Really bad, yeah. Oh, and there's an echo. And it is fixed when I kick Aaron out. Or not kick him out, just mute him. Maybe go back out and come back in. Although it's going to do that really weird thing where we get the really bad echo.
All right,
try talking now.
How do I sound now?
Oh, perfect.
Normal. There you go.
I never did anything other than talk bad about Jake. He must be running our soundboard tonight.
So
oh, there's that weird echo again. Oh, did Ben freeze?
No, I'm fine. I'm looking at the comments here, and so there's two arguments of the failing open or being locked, and so my thought would be I'd almost rather it be failed open, so that I can winch myself around stuff. If they're locked, the problem is your turning radius is turned, and if you're in a spot where turns are really tight, for instance, your Black Bear Pass or a place with ledges, you need all the turning radius you have, rather than having to deal with multi-point turns and trying to get that sharp turn where you might not be able to have it. But I do get the idea of having a locker and being able to use it. But I mean, at the same time, if it's broken, I'd almost rather just stay broken and figure it out and get myself out with my winch and recovery gear, because that's why I have it there.
Yeah, and to be clear, what we're talking about breaking is whatever turns the locker on and off, not the locker itself. Because if the locker is broken, it's broken. You can't use it. But we talked also about carrying an airline repair kit with you. So if you've got an ARB air locker, what's going to fail is either it's going to fail internally, or an airline is going to be toast. So replace the airline, it's back up and running, and you've got a selectable locker again, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And a lot of it also depends. So like if you're, driving your rig to and from the trail, I'd probably say you want it to break open. So that way you can actually just drive it home like normal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But like say, my specifically my front locker with the I'd rather just have a rig that doesn't break like Jeremy's. Win-win. Hey, Tim.
You forgot that he spent 6 months with a tacoed front axle. And
yeah, Tim does have a rig like Jeremy's, and it's broken in his garage.
Anyway, where I have the the manual hubs up front, like I'd much rather my front locker break open, because worst case scenario, I could just go unlock the hubs.
Yeah.
And I think it's just all kind of depend on the wheeling type that you do, and kind of your individual setup.
Yeah, and kind of like Tim said, I would rather just saying being stuck open when you're down halfway down a hard trail, that would suck. That's when you want your locker.
Yeah.
But as soon as
Yep.
you get off the trail, you're kind of SOL with a open locked locker.
Unless you're pulling onto a trailer.
Unless you're pulling onto a trailer. But I mean, hey, you get off the trail, you can call a trailer or call a buddy. You know, there's options to get that trailer there, generally speaking, especially if you're wheeling actual hard stuff and not at like overlanding in California and flat land or something.
Yeah, and honestly, how often are locker actuators, or whatever we want to call it, how often are they breaking down? I know that I very specifically routed mine as far away from the exhaust, and I protected it with heat shielding to make sure that didn't happen, because I've heard other people have that issue, and I learned from other people's mistakes. So yeah,
and most of those lockers have an option of somehow of a fix. An air locker having that air hose repair kit, the aux locker, you have the lockout slug. A lunchbox locker is locked on the locked position, and if it fails, I believe you're kind of screwed at that point, because your diff's kind of, if the locker's blown, I don't think
the actuator breaking, not
not
the actual locker,
your locker blowing up.
Yeah.
The only other one is
does the e-locker fail in the open position or the closed position? I can't remember.
Because it needs electricity to be an electromagnet.
Yeah.
So, exactly.
And generally that's a wire getting torn.
Oh, you know what?
You should be able to fix that.
Sometimes it does fail closed. I'm sorry.
I think it depends upon the e-locker.
Well, like the JKs have that problem, where like I don't actually know exactly what causes it, but I suspect it's getting gunked up, and it you get gunk in the mechanism, and it can fail open where you can't turn it off.
Yeah. So,
all right.
Well, Jake, do write us. Shoot us an email, offroadpodcast@gmail.com, and we will get you out a sticker. Because no hard feelings on our side, really.
Yeah.
We also want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Patch. Head over to patriotpatch.co and check out their selection of great patches, shirts, cleaning mats, signs, and stickers. You can also join the Patch of the Month Club for $15 and receive a patch, matching sticker, and artist proof each month.
I'm so happy I got one of those It's Not a Leak patches finally.
I don't have any patches to show off this week. And I forgot to download the next month's February's patch of the month, but I'll describe February's patch of the month.
How about I just show it?
Oh, you got it. Good job. There it is. February exclusive. Distance makes the heart grow fonder. So we've got a chassis bolt gun suppressed, and it's shooting a
Oh, those are just cartridge holders. It looks like it's dump fed.
No. No, that's just like a fast place to grab the next couple rounds.
Yeah. In case you run that magazine dry, you can just pop them.
Yeah. So they're shooting a silhouette target, and it's got bullet holes in the shape of a heart as the silhouette. So
yes, it does.
Pretty sweet.
Definitely.
We also want to thank our sponsor.
Have tire troubles ever left you deflated? Colby Valve has got you covered. Ever have a valve stem leak? Colby Valve makes reusable and easily replaceable valve stems that don't require you to remove your tire from the wheel. They work with your off-road rig, ATV, side-by-side, commuter vehicle, or even your tractor. Never be left stranded again because of a busted valve stem. They also have a tire repair kit for those punctures that keep you away from doing your favorite thing, wheeling. Make sure to check out colbyvalve.com or ask for them at your local off-road products store.
I like this comment. It's not a leak. I aired down.
Slowly over the course of 3,000 miles. Or 100
Maybe maybe we should get Colby Valve to make some patches. It's not a leak. I aired down.
Ooh,
I like it.
they probably do it too.
Well, we got some news here.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, we got some news here. This episode was actually supposed to be an episode with someone with an electric vehicle that we were going to interview, and that didn't work out. And so we're doing airing down as our episode instead. But we've got all electric news today. How's my audio? Because I'm not hearing you guys hardly at all.
It's doing good.
You're good.
Okay, you guys went really quiet for some reason. Our audio has been terrible tonight. Sorry, guys. So our first news, I titled it "Electric Avalanche" because it is the 2024 Chevy Silverado EV, and if you pull up a picture of it, you'll know why I called it an electric avalanche.
Because it looks like that.
Yeah, it looks like the Chevrolet Avalanche. So it is a EV, which means it's all electric, and it shares the platform with the Hummer EV. Sorry, I just got a notification on my phone. Shares the platform with the Hummer EV, and it's kind of neat looking and a little bit too much plastic. That's what the Avalanche was all about, was plastic everywhere.
Oh, here we go. That's a better picture. That's really going to show that it's just a fancy avalanche.
Here it comes. Here it comes.
It's coming, and boom.
It'll blow your mind. There it is. Look at that.
Yeah, you know it is. It's and what was it GM that said by 2025 all of their vehicles be electric now?
I don't know, honestly. Lots of people are making those claims. That may have been Cadillac. I don't know if it was GM specifically. I know Cadillac was going all electric, but anyway, so let's talk about this truck.
I actually like the one thing I like about it is the no grill.
Yeah.
Well, that's all the electric vehicles because they don't have an engine to cool down.
Yeah. Not all.
They actually still do have radiators to cool the batteries and stuff like that. So let's talk about this side view here. I'm concerned about this because the bed is all part of the bodywork.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I'm pretty sure it's probably not a unibody. It's got to have a frame. It's a truck. It's got to have
looks like it might be a unibody
truck. Because you'd think that if it flexes, you're going to have whatever that issue is, but I don't know. So that's a concern of mine. It starts, the Chevy EV specifically, just the regular one, starts at $39,900, so $40,000 for the base model work truck version, and you can spec it all the way out to $105,000, which is almost 3 times as much as the base model, which is absolutely insane. So
that is
but yeah,
so
and that's for a Chevrolet. That's not like
it is going to be that is the frame, the chassis.
I like those Bluetooth drive lines.
Yeah. This is per GM's what the electric Hummer is. Here, I got another picture here.
There's got to be a frame. They wouldn't use the battery as a frame for a truck. I don't think it's showing the actual frame.
That's the Hummer's chassis. So it's a unibody.
So that's unibody for sure. Interesting.
Yep.
So So, anyways, Chevy is kind of thrown out there that they are the only company with an off-road version of an electric truck. Um, no one else has an all-electric off-road package for their truck. Ford doesn't as of yet. So they're saying that their Silverado EV, which will have a Trail Boss package, and the Hummer EV are the only ones. So GM's top dog with that. What we don't know, because they don't say any of it in this article, is if it's going to get the crab walk or the extract mode from the Hummer. The extract mode is something that raises the suspension 6 inches with air. And the crab walk, we all know it's the 4-wheel steering kind of thing. The normal EV is going to have about 400 miles of range, which I think is actually pretty good.
That's pretty
Obviously,
decent.
it's a truck. It's a truck. It's got a lot more space for more batteries. They expect the Trail Boss to have less range because it's probably going to be lifted. It's going to have higher rolling resistance, all-terrain tires, stuff like that. But they don't say anything more about the Trail Boss. Like, is it going to have skid plates or a limited slip rear differential? Because I don't think that Chevrolet still does a actual locker for their Z71 package trucks. So yeah, not a lot of info on the Trail Boss is what kind of would interest our listeners if they were going to buy an electric truck.
Yep.
So that's EV thing number one. EV number two, we're going to talk about Bollinger. We've talked about this one quite a few times on the show. It is the B1 and the B2. One is a pickup truck, one is an SUV. They look very reminiscent of the Land Rover Defenders. And Bollinger had these. I thought they were going to be coming out any month now. They were going to be like $125,000 for a starting cost, which is a lot of money for these trucks. They had a lot of cool features where one of them was like a pass-through from the truck bed into the cab, and then also from the footwell into the frunk. So you could haul like 16-foot goods like lumber without having it hang out with your tailgate closed, basically. So pretty nifty with that. But anyways, this article says that Bollinger is putting a hold on production of all their trucks and SUVs so they can focus on commercial vehicles.
And that frame is exactly part of why we all liked it. It had a frame.
Yeah. So that frame right there is like a commercial vehicle frame. So think of like a U-Haul truck or even a motorhome. So they're going to be building these class 3 to class 6 trucks. A class 3 is like a 1-ton pickup. Class 6 goes all the way up to medium duty trucks that are under a CDL, so 26,000 pounds.
Yeah, they're talking dump trucks, U-Haul trucks, delivery vans, tow trucks, and like crane trucks like you'd use for power line guys, which I mean that could be pretty handy for those guys. Just hook it up on a pole and there you go, my truck's charging.
Yeah. So apparently Rivian and some other electric truck companies are coming out with commercial vehicles, so they wanted to get their hand in that market. So Amazon delivery vehicles, I'm pretty sure Amazon, FedEx, and UPS are all using electric vehicles in like cities and places like that for their package delivery. So they want to get a chunk of that market. So they put their consumer vehicles on hold for that. So that's kind of a bummer. I was really hoping to see those come out and compete with the likes of the Rivian and the
Tesla,
Hummer EV, Tesla. Yeah. So we'll see. Don't know what's happening.
Yeah, it's interesting why they would do that, especially when they had such a good following. And all these people that have got burned by that. they're probably they've got their money back. Where is it going to go now? Is it going to go towards Chevy? Is it going to go towards Rivian, or is it going to go towards Tesla or Ford with their was it the is it the Lightning? So yeah.
Yep.
Go paired with Warren Industries. They produced the first recreational winch in 1959 and lead the industry with their dedication to quality and reliability. When you dig yourself in deep, make sure you... Hey guys, we're looking to reach more listeners. We're going to start Go prepared with Warren Industries. They produced the first recreational winch in 1959 and lead the industry with their dedication to quality and reliability. When you dig yourself in deep, make sure you have the right tools to get yourself out. Get Warren equipped and go where others can't. Now, let's get ready for adventure and head into our main topic.
Well, what are we talking about this week?
We're talking about audio issues.
I know.
I don't know what's going on.
I was just gonna roll past it because we were just planning on editing out in the in post.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, let's talk about Aaron Down. AIR, not AARON.
Aaron's down. He's been
AA down.
Aaron. Yeah. So, Ben, everybody says airing down. I'm brand new to four-wheeling. I don't even know what airing down is. Tell me what airing down is, what it's about. Tell me why people air down.
All right. So the purpose of airing down, there's a couple reasons. One, if you're on a rough trail, it's going to help with your comfort on the trail, because your soft tire, imagine this is your tire. You've got your Jeep Wrangler and you've got 32 pounds of PSI in there.
You're going into the science, man. Okay, keep going.
And so you're going down the trail. That tire's full of air, right? You go over a bump and it's not going to move at all, maybe a little bit of movement. As you air down, your sidewalls expand, your length gets longer, so you got more traction, but also that sidewall, there's a whole lot more flex there. So it's going to be a lot softer, and you're going to go over bumps. It's going to be more comfortable. And as I said, your tire's longer. That also means you've got more traction. That means you've got more gripping power. So if you're on those Dunlop street tires that the sports come with, you know what? You got a little more traction so that you may be able to get a little farther down the trail and enjoy your experience with your Jeep or Toyota or whatever you're driving, your Pontiac Aztec.
Pontiac Rageous. If we had a engineer on the show, I'd maybe ask him to maybe give us the science behind it too. So maybe we just skip that part. I don't know.
The comfort part or the tread patch?
Do it all. You know what, Jeremy? Why don't you just fill in for him tonight?
Okay. Fill in as the engineer. Okay.
Yes. Pretend that you play an engineer on television.
Yeah. So really the reason it becomes, less of a jarring experience for when you're driving is you're really that extra travel in the tire really slows down your deceleration. So that rapid deceleration is what you feel as a bump. And that was actually good that the camera even jarred when I did that.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
So the longer you can, if you're going, 60, the longer amount of time it takes you to get from 60 to 0, that's going to be the most comfortable, obviously. The same's true when you're just, the vehicle is coming down because you came down a bump. The longer it takes you to slow down to 0 and start going back the other way, it's going to make you feel a lot better. And then, I don't know how to explain the extra contact patch because, just squish like a donut or something and you see it contact the ground more. I don't know.
No, that is actually a good one. You push down on a donut or a balloon, you see that it's touching more ground.
Yeah, donut might have been a bad one.
No, donut works. It's tire shaped.
Tire shaped, absolutely.
I'll give you the smart engineering answer. So, as you the now
We're losing listeners right now. We're losing live listeners.
never mind. Oh,
Well,
jeez.
but part of the science behind it, when you're talking about airing down, Ben was saying it adds length and width to your contact patch. So why does that matter? Why does it matter that you've got more length and width of a contact patch?
Really, because I mean, in a perfect ideal world, like a physics problem, it doesn't really matter because friction is only a coefficient of your weight. But in the real world with tires, you have extra biting surfaces, so you got extra treads that you get to engage. And obviously, this is
That's not the best.
100%.
No, it's not.
This is
You gotta find a better than that.
yeah,
Yeah.
seriously, man. But it just gives you that you're engaging more tread than you would if you didn't air down.
Yeah.
And then
I'm
snow. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I bet everybody has seen a flat tire on a vehicle. You come out to your car or truck and it's got a flat tire, and you can see. And actually, here's a great picture of an aired down tire. The very last one at 5 psi, you can see the tire is wrapped around that rock, and when you wrap it around it, you're gonna get very good traction to grab and grip.
Yeah, and there's some things that come into play with that. Your tire size, your
You're jumping ahead, man.
well, okay, yeah. Sorry.
Just take the graphic for what it is.
Yep, take the graphic for what it is.
So, yeah. So airing down, and a lot of people say, yeah, it makes your tire wider. It does, but what actually is what happens the most is it makes your tread contact patch longer, and that longer is what you're going to benefit from. I mean, you benefit from it being a little bit wider, but you actually gain length out of it. Think of an excavator that's on tracks or a snowmobile. You're kind of doing that with your tire. You're turning it into a longer contact patch like that, but
I
not
think
as
that's
long.
another good infographic.
So, Aaron, yeah, there you go. There's a good one.
Yes.
Aaron, are there any downsides to airing down?
Well, let me tell you about the downsides. This one time at band camp, when I was snow wheeling, I had aired my tires way down, and I got them stuck in a crevasse, and it pinched the sidewalls of my tire and popped the beads off. So if you don't have some sort of device to keep your tire beaded on your wheel, it locks your bead in, and actually that's what the air does when you're all the way inflated up to 50 psi. It holds those beads against the inside of the wheel, so that you don't have to have a bead lock. So if you are a mall crawler, bead lock's not necessary. Most stuff isn't necessary, actually. Toyota Avalon is all you need for the crawling of the malls. So you can pop a bead off really easy if you air down too low. Another bummer is that as you air down, you don't have that rigidity in the sidewall like Ben talked about, and your vehicle gets lower because the air isn't holding up the sidewalls and the tire as much. So your vehicle loses ground clearance when you air down. That's why it's always important, if you're going to air down, to put bigger tires on to make up for the lack of air that you're taking out, or the lack of ground clearance, right? Bigger tires always.
Absolutely.
And then let's say you've aired down and you need to get from trail A to trail B, but it's 30 miles away because you're really spread out in Moab or something. you can drive on an aired down tire, but if you drive at any sort of speed, it's going to heat that tire carcass up, and that tire carcass, because it's being forced to flex as it's spinning at speed, it's going to overheat the tire carcass, deteriorate the rubber, and then you get a massive blowout. You'll look like Ben's used tires when you blow out a tire. Not
And
good.
And you can also wear out your tires faster as you're aired down driving on the road. You can cup your tires doing that.
But and let's just talk about it right now. You can drive with aired down tires, no problem. You just have to not overheat them. You need to be mindful of it, not drive too fast. It also makes your vehicle very dangerous, because you can't make emergency maneuvers and things like that as easily. So airing down is generally just for trail stuff. Please don't drive on the highway with aired down tires unless it's maybe like 2 miles or something and it's not a lot of traffic or whatever. So
Or it's covered in snow.
yeah,
You might want it.
yeah. The last thing, downside is you can damage a wheel if it's too low. So one thing that tires do is they help with taking the impacts of the trail that you're driving over, because it's not the mall, unless it's a curb. It's not the mall, and so if you're going too fast and you hit things, now that tire won't absorb the energy and it's going to transfer it to your wheel and possibly bend or break your rim. So that ain't good. Nobody got time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's list off some of the ways to air down. Ben, why don't you kick us off? What do you use to air your tires down?
Currently, depends upon how lazy I am. I'll use my my inflator, my power tank inflator.
Okay.
Because it opens up the valve stem, and
I just happen to have one of those right here.
Yep. So I just
mine's a digital one. You clip on the clip onto the valve stem, clip, and then you're pushing this little brass button to let a little bit of air out.
Nope, I'm holding the lever.
You hold the lever so it blows a lot out rather than a little out. Okay.
Yep. That's if I'm being like really lazy and I want to watch it because I'm by myself or whatever.
Yep.
I've got like multiple ways to air down. If I might steal a few here, I've got the Coyote Enterprises deflators.
Oh, like these?
Like those? Yes, like those. Those are auto deflators. Mine, I have two sets. They're set for two different PSIs. I've got one set for 15 PSI and one set for, I think they're 10 or 8 PSI.
So real quick, let me tell what people listening what these are. The Coyote Works, which are formerly Stons, and also not formerly. No, I thought that he had bought the company out.
They're an upgraded from the Stons.
Okay, I thought he had bought the company out or something. That was
he was a dealer for him for years, and yeah.
Okay, so it's a version better than the Stons. You screw it on your valve stem, and it will push against the valve core, and it'll let the air out automatically. And you preset these to a certain PSI prior to doing it. Yeah. Oh, I think you have to pull. You got to pull the ring too, right? To get it started.
Nope.
It automatically pulls the ring.
Nope. Unless there's a spring in there, and that spring, the amount of air pressure pushing against it, determines if it's letting out air.
The only time you might need to start it manually is if you're
really close
to your air pressure.
Gotcha.
Going down like 5 or 10 psi or something. But if you're going down like 15, then it'll automatically go most of the time.
So that's I'm in a group with people, and I want to go BS with my friends while they're busy sitting there with other airing down devices.
Hold on, you're missing out on a really good use for, especially the Coyote ones. So the Stons ones don't recommend you drive with them on, but the Coyote ents say that you can drive with them on. So they're really awesome when you're like trying to hit a camp spot and you're just getting off the road and you're trying to bomb your way down to the campsite. You can just throw them on and keep going.
Yep, when you want to be fast, that is a good point. My this is my old school. This is what I started out with right here. This is the TerraFlex deflator tool. I still have 1 or 2 of those. I've lost. There's 4 little deflators here and there. I've lost a few of them, and they just screw onto your valves, kind of like an auto deflator. But there is no spring to stop it, so it just deflates. So you have to check your tire pressure to see where you're at, or eyeball it by looking at your sidewall. If you're familiar enough with your truck, they're handy. They're like $10 for a little keychain that you can keep on your rig's keychain, and it's a great first thing to get someone. They've just got off road and you're friends with them. Hey, here's a $10 thing to kind of help you air down and learn. And that was like first thing I got.
Sorry. Jeremy, what do you use to air down?
Currently, I use the monster valves, so I'm really stoked with those. Yep, there you go. So these ones you actually have to go ahead and drill and tap your wheel, or they have a model where you just drill straight through. But I have the drill and tap version. I say it all the time that I talk about these, but I tend to say it every single time. Be patient with that tapping bit, because you don't want to break it off in your wheel like I did. That's a bad day.
Oh, you've done that? How many taps did you break?
Just one.
Just one? I thought it was 2.
No, just one. And then it took me probably about 8 hours to slowly Dremel that thing out of there. So that one's great because the way it works is if you could pull the picture back up, there's that little red collar on the bottom covers a bunch of drilled holes in the side of it. And so when you unthread that collar, you can just dump air. So going down from like 40 PSI to like 8 or 10 PSI, I can get down there in less than a minute. So it's really nice. One of the downsides I found out is when you're snow camping, or when you're out in the snow, make sure you wear gloves because it gets really cold when your hand is that with air volume moving. It gets really cold.
Yeah.
The bonus also with those is you can air up quite a bit quicker too, especially if you're using a power tank or something.
Yeah, with the actually you and I were there when Steve aired up his power tank with his monster valves, and it was like 5 seconds a tire. It felt like it was probably a little longer than that.
He was also
like different. Does it take a different air chuck, or do you just use a regular air chuck?
It does take a different air chuck. So again, in the picture,
I was wondering if that's what that special one was in the picture.
The set comes with the special air chuck, and then it comes with a special valve core remover tool, which is at the bottom because obviously the valve core is quite a bit bigger. So your standard valve core tool is not going to work.
So what type of valve core does it use? Do you know?
I've actually never pulled the valve core, but just looking at it, it kind of looks like a normal valve core, just a little bit bigger.
I wonder if it's like a trailer valve core or a tractor valve core, because the tractors have a larger valve stem.
Possibly.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
But no, I'm gonna say no, because you still air up a tractor with a regular air chuck. So ask me how I know. Jeremy, do you have any other way that you air down?
I do. So the other main way that I used was the ARB style tool to pull the core.
Oh, thanks for stealing mine.
Oh, sorry. you asked me.
No, I know. I was prepared for it. So I got that right here in the picture. ARB. This is my go-to. Do you want to explain it, Jeremy, while I Vanna White it?
Yeah, sure. So you thread that. You pull it out of the bag first. Do I have to do everything for you, Aaron?
Step by step.
So you go ahead and thread that bad boy onto your valve stem. And then the top one actually turns. You push it in to where it you kind of feel the notch go into the valve core, and then you unthread the valve core, and then at a certain point you'll feel it kind of just give you a lot of resistance and push the valve core all the way out, and then you can lift that lower collar up, and then it's going to basically kind of do the same thing that the monster valves did, just quite a bit slower, because you're still
it is
pushing
definitely
out that
slower.
small valve core.
I wouldn't call it quite a bit slower. I'd just say it goes slower because it's a smaller hole for the air to come out.
I'd say quite a bit slower. If you were doing my tires side by side, it would definitely be quite a bit slower.
Well, yeah, because you just thread the collar up on yours. This takes a little bit of time to get it put on your valve stem. But the thing about it, what it's doing here with this is it's removing your valve core and capturing it in the hole while it deflates. So this is probably going to be the fastest non-monster valve that you get without, because everything else deflates with the core in, which is an obstacle for the air to get out.
Yep.
There is one faster way, Aaron, but I don't recommend this.
Slashing
not that one either. No, but just pulling the valve stem with or the valve core with just one of the normal tools.
With the tool, you can just take the valve core out, and hope that it doesn't fly across. Yeah, it just flew across the trail. Now you'd have no idea where it's at.
Exactly.
And something to consider with any of these that pull out the valve core, like we mentioned with one flying off, is you should have extra valve cores. Just because you're off-road, you've got debris that can get in there. I've messed up a few valve cores with mud and dirt getting in there and me airing up and down. And it's a 5-cent piece of mind to have a couple valve cores around and a tool to replace them.
Yeah, and also you need to make sure that if you're using something that removes the valve core, that you also make sure the valve core goes all the way back in. I've wheeled with people where they've got an air leak and it turns out that their valve core never got threaded all the way back in.
Yep.
So it's important. I got one last tool here. The pocket knife. That's great. That's great, Ben. Yeah. You call that a knife? No, that's
a knife.
I probably wouldn't try to use a Bowie knife, but yeah, anything you can stick into your valve core to depress that thing is going to let air out. The problem is that this is very tedious. And when you're doing wheeling, when the weather's not hot and nice and warm, that air in your tires coming out fast and it's cold and I don't believe you could get frostbite from using one of these, but it sure feels like it. Your hand gets very
a knife, a stick, a screwdriver.
Yeah.
I bet you can get frostbite from that.
Think so?
If you have enough air in your tires.
Yeah.
And that's why like I suggest this $10 tool from TerraFlex. I mean, they're all over Amazon. Not even necessary TerraFlex one, and they're cheap.
So should we even talk about what to air down to, or should we just leave that a mystery for everybody?
Leave it a mystery. Everybody go to 0.
Everyone says a bunch of different size, different pressures, and to me, it depends upon the vehicle, the weight of the vehicle, your wheel size, your tire size, the surface you're driving on. It's like, oh, what should I air down to? Or someone who's stuck. Did you try airing down? It's like, well, are you at 40 PSI because you're in a big truck? Or are you at 32 PSI because that's what your factory Toyota Jeep is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
go ahead, Aaron. I said, go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, go ahead.
I got a notification on my laptop right when we talked over each other, and when it does that, it mutes everything here, so I don't hear anything. Sorry, guys. It just does depend on what you're driving and stuff, and like Ben saying, the material you're driving on. So let's talk about it. Let's start with what most everybody drives on: dirt and Forest Service roads. Let's start at the top. Do
So
we need to air down?
Yes.
well, yeah. You
Okay.
don't have to, but it will help with your comfort.
Keep
And
all your overland camping gear from beating itself to death.
or your truck rattling itself apart.
The
So
washboards.
yep, especially with the washboard. So I would say if your PSI, if your factory PSI is 32, let's just go with a standard midsize SUV, right? Let's 32 at PSI. I think 20 to 15 PSI is a great starting point.
Yeah. And if it's not comfortable, you can air down some more. You can air down until you're out of air. Then it won't be comfortable either that way. But yeah, just air down 15 to 20. I agree with you, Ben. That's a great window for that kind of stuff. So let's jump to sand. Let's still stay in something dry. Sand. Should we air down for sand?
You're way down low with sand.
Way down low with sand. Yeah.
Yeah.
How come, engineer? Why do we need to air down so low with sand? What does sand do that dirt doesn't do?
It slides out of the way.
Yeah, it's pushing, and it's like driving on miniature marbles and ball bearings. It just, yeah, it really does. So you need to float on it.
Yeah, same thing with the snow. I mean, your sand and snow pressures are.
Oh, you're
probably
cutting ahead. You're cutting ahead, Jeremy.
they're going to be about the same. So, I mean, I'd probably start at like, I wouldn't go any higher than 15 PSI. Now, if you're not running beadlocks, then depending on what you're doing, oh, you went muted again. Depending on what's going on, you know, if as long as you're not bombing through, you know, taking really tight turns, you could probably go down to 8 PSI if you're taking it slow, but I don't know.
Yeah. If you don't have beadlocks, I wouldn't recommend going below 8 PSI if you don't have a spare and a comfortable way to rebead your tire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I don't think I would ever suggest going below 8 without some sort of beadlock.
And you should be pretty careful at 8 too.
Yeah, 8's like that really close threshold. I've not blown a bead below going above 8 PSI. Aaron has. I've blown a bead. I've blown one below 8 PSI, snow wheeling. And fortunately enough, it was easy enough to get it back on.
Oh, you have blown a bead. I thought you said you didn't blow a bead. You've never.
No, I haven't above 8 PSI.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
At 8 and above. I've gone below 8. I think I was like at 6 PSI and I lost a bead. And I caught it right away. So I was able to get it back on very easily.
Yeah, I lost beads at 3 PSI with my Nissan. Aaron, why did you air down to 3 PSI? Well, because I didn't have the Off-Road podcast to listen to tell me where I should be airing down. All I know is that the less the better. You're getting more traction. It's all good. Let's wheel. Air it down, baby. So that's why we're having a talk.
Something we mentioned with beadlocks is beadlocks most likely most always is just the outer bead. It's not that inner bead. You're at less risk of blowing the inner bead, but you're still susceptible to it. Especially snow wheeling, especially when you're those low pressures like 3 PSI. Yeah. And those suck even more.
Yeah. And the reason you're not going to blow the bead is because of actually the way that the wheel is actually shaped. So on the inside, the wheel kind of just gently slopes up, and then it's got the dip for the bead where it holds the bead. But on the outside of the wheel, it's pretty much just you have the dip for the bead, and you have a little bump, and then it just drops off. And so when you blow a bead, generally you're going to blow it from the outside in. You're going to push that outside bead in, and it's just going to come out of that little notch. hand works better when it's in view, and just go and let all the air out. So, but with the bead locks, you still have the possibility to burp some air out on that inner bead. Some they do have some inner bead locks, double bead locks,
or using like the Coyote Enterprises with the inner bead lock.
Yeah, but most bead locks that people talk about are going to just be that outer bead.
Yeah. And like mentioned by this comment here, also depends upon how old your rim style is. The 16.5, because of the military surplus tires, and the guys that don't have bead locks with those, I hear those are a pain in the butt, and you lose your bead fairly easy with those ones, if I remember correctly.
So, Aaron, now that you know about the Off-Road Podcast, what do you air down to in the rocks?
So in the rocks, I start at 12 and I go down from there. I rarely dip under 10 unless I'm snow wheeling. If I'm snow wheeling, I start at 10 and go down from there. So I don't know if, because I have got skinny tires on skinny wheels, that they grip really well, or maybe the design of the Nissan wheels grip really well, but I've had really good luck with not blowing beads off and airing down too low. So
yeah, your more modern wheels nowadays are better at gripping those beads. Is it KMC has the smart bead lock? They're like a pain in the butt to get. Method wheels, there we go, that's what it is.
Yeah.
The Methods have like this little ridge grips on the inside of the bead to help keep it locked in place.
Yeah.
Do you call me a nerd?
I said knurling.
There we go. Wow, I got called a nerd.
Yeah.
By a guy who went to college.
And I have heard of some people say that some factory wheels grip beads better. I think there's a Land Rover wheel that grips better or something. So people always like this one steel Land Rover wheel. It's stuff like that. So
sounds like something from the anti-aftermarket wheel lobby or something.
I mean, it could be, but there is some really sweet bead lock or locking bead designs out there. So everybody has probably heard of the word bead lock, and that's where a wheel actually clamps the sidewall, or the bead, I should say, not the sidewall of the tire, so it doesn't let it go. And they make bead locks that only do the outside, or they make double bead locks so it grabs the inside and the outside bead. Coyote Works makes that donut that goes inside of your tire, which puts positive pressure in that holds the bead in place.
On both sides.
Yeah. Icon makes a super cool wheel that has these bolts that slide in and thread in all the way around the wheel that kind of grip on the backside and hold the bead in place as well.
Which I think that's probably more useful for not, blowing out the bead. One of the nice things about the bead lock, like a traditional style bead lock, is it actually, again, it's knurled on the mounting face and then on the bead lock ring, and so it actually clamps on. When it clamps onto the bead, it keeps your bead from spinning on the wheel. I don't know how those Icon ones do. I mean, I know it does. Looks like it would do it.
I imagine it's very similar to your traditional bead lock style. You're just not getting as much grip surface.
Well, I just feel like it's not going to be as tight.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you're going to spin a wheel or spin a tire on those things very easily, but I think you're going to do it more easily than with a traditional bead lock wheel.
Yeah. I
don't know anyone who has any of those yet.
I don't hear of anybody spinning a bead on a tire though either. I know it's possible. I've seen it
Crap.
done in
2
forklifts.
years ago.
Yeah,
Kravik did? Oh,
Yes, he did.
wow. There you go. I mean that's a Toyota Tundra. Those aren't supposed to be driven off road, I don't think.
I don't think so either. No, he did that on a camping trip.
Oh, okay.
2 years ago. It could have been last year.
Huh.
2 years ago, I think it was when he did that.
Do we know what he was aired down to?
Like nothing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh,
It was when he got stuck, right?
Yeah, maybe it was
And
3 years.
and he had to go get his wheels rebalanced afterwards because your wheel weights. Yeah.
So there's been a couple occasions where I've aired down way too much, and one of them I was down under 1 psi to get through a flat patch of snow that I couldn't get traction in, and I just aired down and didn't use a gauge. And once I got through it, I popped my compressor out and went to air it up, and I was below 1 psi when I hooked it on, and it didn't pop a bead. So just because you air down too much doesn't mean that you will necessarily pop a bead, but there's definitely it's a lot riskier to do that.
Yeah,
So
and
it depends on the terrain to cause the bead to pop off. If you're putting extra pressure on the sidewalls, if you're driving faster and turning sharp, that's an easy way to pop a bead off and roll your vehicle, possibly.
Yeah. And I wouldn't necessarily be afraid, like if you're going snow wheeling, if you've got a full size spare, I wouldn't necessarily be afraid of debeading a tire because one, you can throw on your spare. Two, you can also try and air up if you've got a nice compressor like an ARB Twin, one of the Via Air ones where it's like the big setup with lots of airflow, airability, and or a power tank. Those are all some really good ways, or some lighter fluid and a match.
Don't
But
do that one.
that's dangerous.
We don't take responsibility for you doing it, but send the videos in to us. We'd love to see them.
Yeah, and that's a little dangerous, a little sketchy. It's doable. That's one of those last ditch efforts, in my opinion, versus using an air compressor. It's really not that hard. It just takes a little bit of time. A ratchet strap.
Ben, you mentioned an ARB Twin. So when I debeaded 2 tires at the same time, we just jacked the truck off. You take the weight off that tire, and we just used my regular ARB, and it seated no problem. So
Oh yeah,
just as long as you don't have a very low CFM Harbor Freight guy, you'd probably be all right.
Even then, you'll probably be fine. You just gotta, you might need to do well. And one of the things that helps when you're trying to seat beads on tires is, like a little bit of water and dish soap. Just something to give it a little bit extra sealing, and then actually lubricate the tire a little bit so it slides on the wheel a little bit to go pop over that bead.
A little WD-40.
Yeah, you can grab onto the
WD-40.
You can grab onto the back of the tire and pull it to the side that you're trying to set the bead on to help try to seal that gap, because you're trying to seal the gap so the air doesn't leak out.
Yep.
I've used a ratchet strap to kind of help with that.
Yep. Or if you're a really, really, really big person like Tony Simon, you can use your belt.
Wow.
Ouch.
Yeah.
You're a bad friend.
Yeah.
I'm a good friend. That's what friends do, is they rib each other.
Yes, they do.
Is there any more air down talk that we can talk about?
Well, I think we've run long, so
yeah.
No, definitely.
I think that covers it pretty well. I mean, if anyone's got any questions, feel free, hit us up. offroadpodcast@gmail.com. Comment on YouTube. Old comments, we see them. Not always as often. Facebook.
We got a comment here. That says not to use oil-based lubricants to reseat the bead. Says if you have any of the balance beads or sand type stuff that you use to balance your tire, it can cause clumping. So, yeah, that's if you're using those products.
100% true.
That is Christopher on our Facebook group.
Okay. Nice.
So yeah, definitely. If you're using balancing beads and all that, avoid those lubricants. I think a little soap and a little Dawn and water would be more than enough to get that bead back on.
I don't even know if I'd use that.
Yeah. I never have. I've used a ratchet strap like Ben has suggested, or just pulled on it, and when you have air going to it, and got her set.
When I was putting the bead on the Dirty Lifes, I didn't do it on one of them, and I had to air it down because it just was not seating that bead. And then I used a little bit of soap and water, and it just like immediately as it got to like 20 psi, it popped on. So,
Gotcha.
And if it's like snow wheeling, you've already got some water on there. So there you go.
Probably, yeah. Well, thank you everybody for listening, hanging out with us. We need to just change our show from being an hour show to a 80-minute show, and then we don't have to say that we're running long anymore. So
we always
you guys out there. We love the comments. We love the interaction, and we don't want to cut anything from our show to make it shorter either. So if you think an hour and 20 minutes is too long, let us know. Tell us how to change it. We want all the information. We want to talk about the news, talk about what we've been up to. So yeah, if you got any suggestions, let us know. Thanks for sharing us with your friends. Make sure you go on YouTube and hit that subscribe button. That way you can get the notifications every time we go live. You'll get to hang out with all the cool people in the chat section. So appreciate you guys, and God bless America.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren Medical Gear Outfitters and Kobe Valve to see all their great gear. We're a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a comment or question? Send it to us through our webpage at firearmsradio.net or through our social media channels by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, be safe, and courteous. Thanks for listening.